Hello and welcome back to The Good News.
I'm Doc.
And I'm TJ, and we are excited and delighted that you have joined us for another episode of The Good News. You know, every time we get the opportunity to share the good news of Jesus with any number of audience, it doesn't matter if it's one person in the elevator or 3,000 in a congregation. We are always excited to share what Jesus is doing in the lives of believers. Yeah. You know, even if it's something hasn't happened new and spectacular for you, you know somebody. And so we started out this morning celebrating, even from afar, with Wheeler Avenue Baptist Church, as they have been outside of their sanctuary for, I believe they said 19 months.
Wow.
And so today, this first Sunday, was their first day back into full worship. And what a time, what a time.
And you know, I have to say, I really admire the faith they have in God and to complete their building project during COVID. Mm-hmm. You know, so many people lost buildings and lost worship places during COVID, but they were able to complete a building project. I'm talking millions of dollars project, and it's a beautiful tribute to God for the hard work, dedication, and commitment the city of Houston is getting ready to benefit from because of the ministry of Wheeler Avenue Baptist Church and up under the leadership of the Right Reverend Dr. Marcus Cosby.
And you know, I had forgotten that they had moved out of their original sanctuary and was worshiping in their life center because it was damaged during a hurricane, the storm, maybe Isaac.
One of the most recent ones.
One of the recent ones. And you know, Houston is always seems to be in the target, Houston and that whole little Gulf area. And so to be able to carry on, to move, they had gotten up to 4 worship services to be able to accommodate the number of people that are enjoying fellowship with the Lord through that ministry. And just a blessing to be able to watch. You know, a lot of people, when you see someone else prosper, you get jealous, you get envious, even if you don't recognize it or give voice to it. But we have always been of the mindset, if God is blessing anybody, then I know that he can bless me too. Yeah. That if he's blessing my neighbor, that means he's in my neighborhood. Yeah. And I'm just so grateful to see the ministry of God that they have built there and how it is growing. And I just give praise to God for that congregation and for their awesome pastor, the Reverend Dr. Marcus Cosby.
And while we're talking about Houston, let me go on record to thank the city of Houston for the World Series, sharing the World Series with the Atlanta Braves. And I thank them for a hard-fought series, and I'm glad that the city of Atlanta came out on top this time. And, you know, it's just amazing. I never thought about the connection that we had with Houston, you know, until I saw somebody make the comment. Houston was where we lost the Super Bowl that we went to most recent. So Atlanta and Houston always had this kind of connection. Houston baseball team is managed by Dusty Baker, who's a Brave.
Awesome.
So, you know, who played with Hank Aaron. And, you know, and I saw this thing somebody had put out about numerology, right? Talk about how, you know, Hank Aaron was number 44, and the Braves did 44 games, 44 days after something was. It was like a lot of 44s and stuff. So you know, it was interesting. But Houston and Atlanta have this connection, and we both known as Chocolate City. So you know, it's just so much.
Our sister city.
Yeah, our sister city.
You know, it's amazing that you bring up numbers and numerology, and that number 44 is about the number of people that came out to vote this week.
Oh, yeah.
What in the world?
And shame on Atlanta.
Hey,
you know,
man.
44 came out to vote, but 44,000 came out to the parade. Did you vote?
And you know, that's such a great question. And you know, they give us the little, in Georgia, stickers, they give us our little peach sticker that says, I voted. And it's supposed to trigger or remind other people that haven't voted yet that now's the season. Now you need to go and vote. But maybe we just need to start asking people because it's such a privilege to be able to participate in everything that happens in your community. And I know we all show out for presidential elections, but it's those people that are sitting down in your city council and sitting in the mayor's seat that make the decisions about what happens in your neighborhood. Why wouldn't you be out in full force, especially for those elections?
Voting is so important no matter what you feel about it. You still must do it. You know, the state of Georgia, our state, you know, we had the problem because they changed the law laws about voting. You know, we already know about gerrymandering when they want to redistrict everything. You know, so they started changing the voting laws to discourage, say, I guess, a certain group of people, in particular minorities, I guess, well, even though we're the majority, even though they want to. But anyway, they tried to discourage us, and because of that, we lost the All-Star game because of all the protests from major corporations and people. And yet, we did all this, and people still didn't come out and vote. So it kind of pissed me off when I think about all the stuff we go through to try to get voting rights, and people still won't vote. It's not about how you feel or how you think. It's a privilege and an honor to be able to vote for something, even if you don't understand everything on the ballot. And that's something that get me too. You know, I vote for everything on the ballot. I don't care. I'm finna sit there and read every item on that ballot. Well, really, we read stuff before the ballot.
The sample ballot.
We get the ballot in advance and we read it.
It's just so much information. There's no reason for us not to be informed about candidates.
And you know, everybody know what county they live in. Hopefully. So only thing you have to do is go to your county site. They got all kind of information. Or just ask an older person in your neighborhood, because I promise you, older people are voting in your neighborhood. So just ask them. And if you don't know enough, ask them, who do you think I should vote for? As long as you don't ask your pastor, because your pastor's not supposed to tell you from the pulpit who to vote for.
And you know,
go ahead.
I understand that people have lost faith in the process. But our faith is not in the process. It's not in man. Our faith is in God. And our participation is because it is a right that we have earned as citizens of this great country. We have the right to choose those who represent us. And if we don't like how they're representing us, we have avenues to remove them from office. But you have to be a part of that process to know it. Our faith is always in God. It's only what God ordains is going to happen, and we know that as people of faith.
And I have a secret for people. I'm going to share a secret. Because what I know is a lot of people don't vote, feel like they're not voting because they don't like the candidates. They said, out of all the candidates, this the best we have to choose from? Not necessarily. Because if you know somebody who would do a good job, put your resources behind that person, even if it's your neighbor or your friend. If you know somebody, convince that person that you know have a passion for the people in your community to run. And then if that person feel like they're not confident enough or can do enough job, go and get enough people to ensure them that they have your support, and you can be there for them, support them, because you know, we don't have to take the candidates that we have before us. We can decide we want our neighbor John to run, because John loves our community, and we're going to put all our money and get all our family and friends to support John, to put him in that position so he can do for the community what he wants to do, or what she wants to do if she's Jan or whoever.
And they can do it without the political favors. They can get there behind the power of individuals and not have to owe anybody anything, which is the situations that we find ourselves so often with political candidates. That and I know politics are politics. You have to make deals in order to get what you need done, but we need to make sure you're getting done what we the people need to get done, not you as the individual candidate.
And another thing, for those who don't vote, you falling right into the hands of those ones that you hate the most that are in politics, because it's their goal to not get a lot of people to the poll, because they don't want to control the numbers. So if they know how many people don't vote and ain't coming, they can almost tell who's going to win based off those numbers. But if we were to surprise them and everybody go vote, they would be surprised who actually win the elections. So you know, vote, please. It's a right, and I ain't even got to tell y'all. I'm finna use what they call an hypothesis. I only have to tell y'all about the blood, sweat, and tears that was shed by our ancestors so we can vote. And I don't have to tell y'all about how much pressure people are under to try to keep you from voting. So vote. You have a right, and it's your choice. If you don't exercise it, you just gonna be heavy. You'll gain weight. You know, if you don't exercise, you get out of shape.
Okay. Well, I think the topic of elections and being on the other side of the election, and well, in a lot of the situations here, we're headed into runoffs. But your message today on just a pivotal time in the life of King David. And you came from 2 Samuel, the 12th chapter, verse 15 through 25. And so your topic was the other side of through. And as we are on the other side of this election, mainly, we do have some runoffs, like I mentioned, that that time, and you and I complain about it all the time, of getting the text messages and emails and phone calls from unsolicited people. They better be glad I have unlimited data and calls, because I'd be really mad if I had to pay to tell them to stop calling me. I mean, the influence that is put into getting candidates elected is, it's really brutal for people who are registered voters, which maybe that's why people don't vote. They don't have to talk to the candidates. But when you talked about going through, you gave us a list of things that happens as we are going through.
And one of the first things, one of the first principles is, in order to get through, you have to go through.
Yes.
Too many times we get stuck going through. And one of my old favorites from the Old Testament is a phrase, a clause of a particular text is, and it came to pass. Exactly.
And in this text, we see King David, where we know he committed this sin of adultery with another man's wife, and they were having a child. The child became ill and died. And during this time, while the child was ill, David fasted and prayed and just sought the Lord for forgiveness for his iniquity, and prayed that the child be spared. And when the child died, and we don't ever want to hear that our prayers won't be answered the way that we want them to be answered. They will be answered.
Yeah.
And so God could have let the child live for 11 more years, and David was ill, and David would have been in there praying and fasting for 11 years. But God saw fit to take the child quickly. And then David rose up, cleaned himself up, ate, and went on to make more children, went on right to Father Solomon. And it's such an important message for us today, that just because what you're going through is hard, there is a blessing. There is a end. It may not end like you want, but there is an end to what you are going through.
Even if you just think about when you're out driving in storms, when it's raining, if you keep driving, eventually you're going to run out of the storm. A lot of times people say, and it's amazing how I see people pull to the side of the road when it's storming, like they just go let the storm pass by. Why don't you just go on through it? Get through it. If you say get through it, then you don't pass the storm, and you can see the storm in your rearview mirror. And I like doing it sometimes when I'm riding through, and it's like it's raining, and then after I get through it, and I look up in the rearview mirror, and people still coming through. I see people stuck on the side of the road who stopped and all that stuff. In order to get through, you have to go through.
Unless you're on a motorcycle, go ahead and pull over and wait.
Well, first of all, you shouldn't be on a motorcycle anyway. When they say rain, you should take the car, take Marta or Uber or Lyft or something. But I understand that.
One of the first things you told us that even you told us that hard times end.
Yeah.
So just like good times, nothing lasts forever.
Yeah.
You went on to tell us as our next point that we have overcome hard times before.
Yeah.
So why are we so willing to let our hard times be so big?
That puzzles me more than you could ever imagine. Because if you think you've already successfully done something, and then it come up again, it's almost like how police officers try to trap you sometimes and ask you the same question over and over different ways and stuff. Oh, I didn't say he had on a red coat, something like that.
And before I go, one more question.
You already gave the answer that you know to be the truth.
Yes.
Why do you feel like you have to give another answer now? So the same thing with trouble. You've seen this situation before.
Yes.
Do what you need to do to get through it. And there are ways to get through it with it if you don't know how to do it on your own. First, you have to acknowledge you've seen it before.
Yes.
It's a learning lesson. There are people willing to help you. Be grateful that it's not bad as it could have been. There's so many things that we can do to get through on the other side of whatever we're going through. Just don't stop. And keep on being believing, keep on being hopeful, keep on trusting, and keep on knowing that God has never left you.
Yeah.
God is still good. God is still omnipotent. God, if you just know what you know and keep on reminding yourself of that, you'll be out of the through before you realize it.
And that's so powerful, because it's really our mindset and our attitude that keeps us in the going through.
Yeah.
It keeps us from getting to the other side. When we can't stop and thank God for all that he has done. And recognize that if God has done it before, that he can surely do it again.
Yeah.
So we know that the like you said, the bills that came last month, they're coming in 28, 30 days.
Yeah.
And so we know that God helped us in that situation before, that God can do it again. And when we take the time to look back at our gratefulness, and I thought that was the most powerful point in this message, to be grateful. That's exactly what David did.
Yeah.
David, I know in that time, thought about the promises that God had given, that God had promised him that he was going to be king, and the journey was not easy.
Yeah.
From the call to the coronation was a whole lot of hard times for King David, but God was faithful to do exactly what he said he would do. All David had to do was keep going through.
And can you imagine? That's the reason I thank God that God don't reveal to us everything up front.
Yes.
Because if David knew to be king, he would have to kill so many people.
Your best friend's dad is going to try to kill you.
Yeah. You go sleep with somebody who's somebody's wife. You're going to try to have a husband set up, thinking the baby's his. Then you're going to have him killed. If he knew all that was going to happen as he became king, he probably would have, this cup is too heavy for me, let somebody else carry this burden, because he probably wouldn't have did it. And the same thing happened with us. If we knew up front that we would have to lose certain things in order to get what God wants, because God promised us something on the other side of through. If we could just trust, keep the faith, and keep on believing, there's something that God has for us on the other side of through. And we have to get to the other side of through. It's amazing how I've never experienced childbirth, but it's amazing how the pain of childbirth leave once that baby come out and you hear that baby crying and you start watching the baby and start loving that baby. What happened to that all the screaming you were doing at first? So
yeah. And it's such an important message with the life of King David, because we know that the scripture speaks so loudly about all the challenges that he had to go through, brothers trying to kill him, son. I mean, just the challenges, and to get to the point where God told him that because of the blood on your hand, because of the things you have done, I know you are a man after my own heart, but we are going to let your son finish the work. And I think if nothing else, we can't give up, because there are other people watching us. Our children are watching, our whole family, our communities are watching us. So we don't have that option to give up. If David had given up, we wouldn't have Jesus. We have to be future and forward thinking, and knowing that because it says in the word of God that all things are working for our good, we have to stand on that word of the Lord.
I'm amazed how when you have a relationship with God, God's answer to things that you pray for.
And it's yes and amen.
Yes, no, and wait. And also interesting, David, when he saw God's answer of no to the prayer for his baby, they were like, whoop, got up and stuff, Well, at least it didn't take God long to answer the prayer. 7 days. So, and it's something about that biblical number 7 and everything.
It was done. It was complete.
And it's something about when the prophet come and visit you. It's like, now everybody want to be a prophet, and everybody want to run to the prophet, because the prophet telling everybody you're going to be blessed and get millions of dollars and go to Hawaii and all this stuff.
Sometimes what
the prophet going to come and tell you, and it's like, I want the prophet
the
coming.
The prophet knock on your door and say, whoa.
Yeah.
That's not what you want to hear.
But I just thought it was interesting that David prayed.
Yes.
But some other stuff that was backdrop for me was we hadn't had Jesus to come on the scene in the physical form yet. So David probably hadn't experienced resurrection.
Yeah.
So when he died, even though God could have brought him back to life again if God chose to, David didn't know about the resurrection yet. But what David knew was the fact that God answered the prayer, and the prayer was no.
Yeah.
So David felt absolved of his sin by that. But there would be no Solomon without the death of that nameless child. And I wouldn't look further in my research on that. I'm like, okay, what was this child named? Because why I never named him? So what I found out was they normally didn't name the child back then until after circumcision. And the child had only lived 7 days, so he didn't get to the 8th day of circumcision. And it was amazing that on the 7th day that the child died, which was the 8th day, is the new what the child didn't see. So David got up, new life with David, new beginning with his wife Bathsheba. They started their life and everything. It was just really a powerful message
it really
to prepare for, and it was just so encouraging to me to realize no matter what comes up in our life, go through it. Go through it. You just can't stop. You know, so many people start stuff and stop and quit. We got to go through it. You know, when I was in school, especially when I was in undergrad, I kept thinking, I'm like, man, I'm not going to ever graduate.
Yeah.
You know, I would take classes, they'd be hard. I want to quit. I want to drop and stuff. But I had made up my mind, I said, the only way I'm not going to graduate, they're going to put me out because I ain't leaving. You know, and, you know, you have to make up your mind on stuff you're going through.
Amen.
Well, I'm going through some hard time, but hey, somebody gonna help me, all right? You know, something get ready to happen because on the other side of through, God promises something, you know, and God has a promise for us, and there's a blessing for us on the other side of through because we made it through.
Yes.
We successfully navigated the storm, navigated the loss, navigated the bankruptcy, you know, we put it all in the hand of God, and God guided us through that. So I was excited about that. Trouble don't last always.
It doesn't, and you don't get stronger.
Yeah.
By lifting the same amount of weight.
God
puts more on you because you are able, because you have the faith in him that he know will see you through.
Yeah.
So thank you again, Pastor, for this awesome message, and thank each and every one of you for tuning in here at The Good News. I pray that you guys are shopping at our Etsy shop for our shirts, and that you can find a shirt that's going to be encouraging to you, that you can share your faith right on your chest. So we are working now on our Christmas design, so we hope that you are checking that out, and checking out Pastor for the full sermonic message at Be Better on Purpose here on YouTube as well. And then I'm praying each and every weekday on Choose Joy with Tisa, encouraging you with a prayer, a simple prayer for our complex world.
Amen. Well,
so until next time,
good day and good night.
Now that's good news.